1970, we sure we did the forefront. Knowledge for selfish, for sure we did the work. Auditorium to basement of all faculty of law. We did represent, stand tall anywhere we go. We work hard and we shine, commitment, dedication. Neurosurgery, comedy, music, Nollywood. SOTK, Dr. Call, MC Casino. We did represent, stand tall anywhere we go. Great Uniben, great Uniben, great Uniben, great Uniben.
Hello viewers, welcome to another episode of the Uniben Alumni series. And on today's episode, we have a distinguished academic with us today, a researcher and someone who is doing so well in the academic field. He is the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Nigeria's first licensed private university, Igbinedion University, Okada, and is the founder of Adeghe and Co. He is Professor Adeghe. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. Prof, let's start from the very foundation. Your bachelor's degree from our university, University of Benin. You were there from 1980 to 1984 for Bachelor's of Science degree in Economics. That was barely 10 years after the institution was established in 1970. What motivated you to choose Economics for your BSc? What influenced it? Was it your surrounding? Was there any figure in your life at that point that you said, oh, I like this economist, I want to be like this person? How did it all start, Prof?
First and foremost, economics, actually, when you look at our background, the problem we have had over time is the allocation of scarce resources. The resources at our disposal, obviously, are very scarce. But the needs for these resources are unlimited. So on that note, I now felt that, look, economics is the father of all. Father of all in the sense that allocation of resources is very critical. Allocation of resources is also important in trying to ensure the welfare of the citizens. If resources are properly allocated, the people that would suffer will be fewer. So allocation is important. There are resources that are accumulated over time. When they are accumulated over time, they are not properly allocated. Poverty alleviation will never take place. We never alleviate poverty. The poor becomes poorer, the rich become richer. So even distribution of resources is very critical. That was what informed my going to read economics at the first degree. When I was in the University of Benin, that was when other courses, for instance, like accounting, like business, these other courses were coming up.
Okay.
And these other courses we are talking about, they are just offshoot of economics. Economics is the father of all. Accounting, until recently, only few universities as we speak, still offer accounting at first degree to master's and PhD level. So finance is, of course, economics topic. In economics, when we were doing monetary economics, is essentially what finance is about. But You see, trying to ensure that everything now specialization. That was how finance came into being. Like University of Ibadan, for instance. University of Ibadan, about 3 years ago, they started other courses like finance, accounting, business. It was basically economics. University of Ibadan is about 50 years, about 60 years in existence. It was basically economics because they know that is the foundation of commercial courses. At a point, University of London were offering degree in commerce. Universities in the UK were offering degrees in commerce. Then it was a kind of a carry over from economics. They were not talking of commerce before they branched out to be talking about accounting, business administration, banking and finance. University of Benin, I was one of the first set to read banking and finance because my first specialization in undergraduate level was monetary economics. Monetary economics is an expansion of banking and finance. In fact, it's really banking and finance. It's really banking and finance. Banking and finance, just looking at a small aspect of monetary economics. And monetary economics now became popular amongst banks. Because at the point, the banks, when we had the banking issues.
Prof, if I may come in here, we'll get into that conversation because, I think I already penciled down a question about you having to do an MSc in banking and finance later on. I know you went back. That was in, I think, 95 or so. You had your
91, 92, then I graduated 95.
95. So that was leading to my next question. Why did you go to banking and finance, which you just answered, that you are already specializing in the monetary part of economics, which is banking and finance? Because I wanted to ask, why didn't you do economics at the master's level, which you later did in 2007?
Yes.
So why at that beginning, because this was 95, why didn't you do economics as at then?
No, I didn't do economics as at that time because I had already acquired the basic knowledge in economics. And I had a passion for finance, banking and finance. And University of Benin, they were just bringing in these courses at postgraduate level. And for me now to go and do all these other ones, let me have a deep knowledge of economics, which tend to transcend all these commercial courses. Then after having that deep knowledge, it was better for me now to take my normal course, financial aspect of economics.
Okay. Prof, let's go back a bit to 1987, where you joined the Edo State. I think it was Benin State then. You were working with the Office of the Auditor General of the States. You worked there from 87 to 1996. That's about
Auditor General.
Yes, the Auditor General. About 9 years. Why you worked about 9 years with the institution? Why did you leave? What was the reason for you to leave and do something else?
Good. Yes, having this background, and you understand, anywhere in the world, government provide an enabling environment for organization to survive. Government is actually the one that will also provide direction for organization to survive. And having looked at economics, also having looked at accounting as an upcoming program in Nigerian universities. And I felt that, look, if government provides enabling environment, and the enabling environment, if you look at expert economics in the past, enabling environment is subsumed in the expertise advice of how do you create this enabling environment. If you create an enabling environment for government to survive, then we should have experts in government that can also profile policy issues, that can also discuss policy issues and say, look, this one will help the economy, will stimulate the economy for survival. That is it. And if the economy is stimulated, these other micro organizations, these other micro issues will fall in place as long as the macro is on ground. Because the macro aspect of it is what actually propel or help the government to provide that enabling environment. If you do not have the micro aspect of it, the country does not even know anything about the micro aspect of it. Even businesses, if you don't have the macro aspect of it, the micro, which is a smaller unit of it, macro is a larger unit. The smaller unit of it, you must have conducive environment for the smaller unit to survive. That was why I now decided to read finance. And if you look at my CV, I also read accounting, qualified accounting in professional bodies in this country. I also read taxation because I had already created a strong background for me, for myself. When you are talking of development economics, you are talking of finance economics, you are talking of banking, you are talking of even whatever accounting you are talking about, they take root from economics. And by the time I now went to government, I said, well, I will now become a policymaker. I went to what we call ASCON. Well, ASCON still exists. Went to ASCON for a year to be able to formulate policy for government. That was how the situation came about.
Okay. Then later on, sir, in 2005, you joined the services of Igbinedion University, Okada, if I'm correct,
Exactly.
as an assistant lecturer. And this time around, you have left government, you are leaving the private sector a bit, now into academic. What inspired you to go into academic?
Like a follow-up to my formal discussion.
Yeah.
As a policymaker in government, and I also discovered that I should also go back to private sector and see the problems that they are faced with. So when you go back to private sector, you see what is really happening in the private sector, what those units, various units, do to ensure development of the country. Because if you put private sector together, that is exactly what I said earlier. When you talk about micro becomes macro, helps the system. So I went to private sector. What are we experiencing in private sector? So I now went to private sector. I became account director. Well, look, again, it's also important to mention that the salary that I was earning in public sector, when I went to private sector, was more than 20 times as an account director. Was more than 20 times the salary I was earning as an auditor. So it will only be misnomer if I decide. No, it will be misnomer if I decide to remain in private sector and my family will not be better off That was exactly what propelled me to go to the
uh,
private sector. If I remain in public sector, my family will not be better off. Because the cost of living was biting hard. The salary was not enough. Only to go to the private sector as an account director, I was earning 20 times. Was as a graduate, I was earning in the government, in public sector. So it's there's no way I would not have gone there.
Yeah. And when the chance came for you to join the academics, did you really think hard of getting?
No. You see, that has really been my ambition.
Okay.
It has been my ambition to be in academics. So when I navigated all these private sector, public sector, few organizations, and what have you, it's a way for me to garner some experiences that can be able to support me and put things right. Well, I'm writing a book which will incorporate all of this.
Yeah.
I've written almost 500 pages of the book. I want this experience to also visual out so that I can add it to the book. I would have published it, but I still think that is not yet time to do so. These are experiences that I can sit down to say, oh, if you also look at my resume, I was in the bank as even in microfinance bank. I started, one of those people that started microfinance bank in this country. I was employed as an advisor to a microfinance bank. Microfinance bank was doing well. Another one was also doing well. Microfinance bank. Yeah, it's just this year that I relinquished my position there. I was there for 15 years. Just this year I relinquished my position. And I said, look, let me now concentrate on academics, all my experiences, all my exposures. I should be able to put them together and let the incoming generation benefit. That's why I decided to disengage this year from the microfinance bank, where I was a director for about 15 years.
Oh, okay, Prof. That will lead me to my next question, Prof. You have been HOD, head of department. You have been sub-dean. You are currently a member of the council of the Igbinedion University, the deputy vice chancellor. How has your journey been for you in the academic career for you? How has the journey been? Has it been really fulfilling? Because
I'm
you just mentioned
happy.
Okay.
Yes, I'm always happy to mentor upcoming ones. Now, in Nigeria today, anywhere I go, I see younger ones say, oh, they're happy to be mentored by me. And that tends to encourage me to do more to help younger ones. Since I have followed this path in the past, I should be able to advise, mold younger ones to be able to also find their path and to also make a way for themselves and be happy and be interested in what they are doing. Because if there is no passion in what we are doing, it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult to survive there. It becomes difficult to really put in your very best. When I joined as an assistant lecturer, as you mentioned. When I became an assistant lecturer, it was an interesting thing because I had to start from the beginning, not even a lecturer too. It was an interesting thing. Every job that was supposed to be done by an assistant lecturer, I put my hands in all of them. By the time I now moved on to become a lecturer one, it was something else. Then I now moved on to become a senior lecturer like that to become a professor
Mm.
and to join the council. So in the university system, with my exposures, my experiences, both in academics and in the industry, it's enough for me to say yes. Yes. Because a lot of persons have also come to me to say, look, you want to set up a university. I tell them, no, it's not just a bed of roses to set up a university, especially if the economy does not permit such projects. We should also look at environmental scanning. You know, you scan the environment. Do you go into this venture? Do you go into this venture at this point in time?
Yeah.
That's why it is my very first love. Academics is my first love. And I also praise Almighty God to have sustained me to this level.
Mm.
After being academic teacher, just moved in to become head of department for 6 years, moved in to be dean for about 9 years. Now, this is my 4th year as a deputy vice chancellor. And I've been in the council for the past almost 10 years.
Mm.
So the policy making of any Nigerian university are in my fingertips. And the advice that I can always give are also readily available because we have acquired them over time.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. I want to bring in Uniben now. What role did your training and character building from the University of Benin play in getting you to these heights?
Well, in the University of Benin, I read economics, you are aware.
Yes.
I was the National Economic NESA Student Association. I was state president. I was Uniben president, chapter president. So I now moved to be national president. And I moved to be national president. I was traveling around the country. And you know, at that point, the issue of studentship, students and government was very volatile. So on that, I became national president. Sometimes when there are, when government changes, we experience a lot of things. We experience a lot of things as student union activists.
Yes.
As student union activists, the government want to have a really stronghold in student activities. So, of course, most times we're being invited to several meetings of both state and federal government. So those were also eye-openers to me about the governance of any entity and even country.
Yeah. Okay. Lastly, Prof, your Vice Chancellor, Professor Lawrence Ezemoye, is a Uniben product. He has his postgraduate from the University of Benin and also is a staff of the institution, which he was loaned to Igbinedion University, if I will use that term. Western Delta University, the Vice Chancellor there too, Professor Austin Killegbe, is a product of University of Benin.
Yes.
University of Agbo, Delta State, Professor Stella Chiemeke, she's a product of University of Benin. She's also a staff of the University of Benin. Recently, the state government, Edo State government, appointed Dr. Omosefi as the rector of College of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Igboyaki, which is just close by to you. And very recently, the state government appointed Dr. Adeghe, Nosaka Adeghe, as the rector, acting rector of Usen Polytechnic. Polytechnic, which is just your neighboring institution. I can go on. Delta State University, the Vice Chancellor holds a Bachelor of Science degree and a PhD from Uniben. I can go all and all. how do you rate Uniben as a big brother to all these institutions, especially within our region?
You see, when you see people holding degrees, the institution play a critical role, but also the individuals also have their role to play. That also implies that in university education, when we give degree to graduates, we say you are now both in academics and in character. That character aspect of it is very critical. It's very critical because that character aspect of it now mold you as a leader. And University of Benin is the 6th university in Nigeria. The very 6th university in Nigeria. And I haven't said so. The leadership of that university, before I entered, after I entered, fantastic. Fantastic. Essence of discipline. The discipline there was something else. And that molds anybody that graduates from that university to be able to handle leadership position anywhere in the world. That is where University of Benin is unique. At a point, if you look at the entire Nigeria, all over few universities in this country, leadership were virtually from University of Benin. Leadership were virtually, just from University of Benin. It's either you are number 3, number 4, just like that, but from University of Benin. So it molds leadership, it creates leadership, and it makes leadership. That's why University of Benin, whatever I do now, I don't want a institution where I would have leadership deficit, because it would be a shame to University of Benin if I cannot maintain the standard that the University of Benin has given to me. That's exactly why, too, when you talk of scandal, it's difficult. You hear other university, those scandals that come about it. Oh, but University of Benin is limited. Scandals are limited, if not completely zero, but are limited.
Thank you so much, Prof. It has been wonderful speaking with you. And I really appreciate you, sir, for creating time, and especially the hiccups we had at the initial stage. Thank you so much, Prof. It has been wonderful speaking with you, sir.
Thank you. You are welcome. You are welcome. Thank you. I have had opportunity to deliver lectures across the globe, in the US, several opportunities. December, I was in South Africa, I was in Botswana, I was all over the world. So is this type of upbringing that the University of Benin has, that I have imbibed from University of Benin, that is really keeping me on.
Thank you. Good to hear that. That's a good place to anchor this interview. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I've been speaking to Professor Ralph Adeghe, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Igbinedion University, Okada. Continue to subscribe to our channel. We'll bring you more exclusive interviews of Uniben alumni. Bye.
1970, we sure we did the forefront. Knowledge for self-peace, for sure we did the work. Auditorium to basement of all faculty of law.